like in Johnny Somali's case, I'm sure maybe his parents weren't great. I have no idea. Maybe they were amazing. But there are only some things that you can control. You can't control your son getting hard addicted to clout online to the point where he's willing to throw his whole life away for a couple of donations, right? Like, you can't. What are you as a parent going to do about that? Like, he's a grown-ass man. They can't just, like, walk into his room and unplug the Ethernet cable, right? Like, there are just some things that you as a parent don't have control over. I don't know as parents. I have to imagine they are probably fucking livid. They probably are so sad about this. Because it's gotta suck, man. Even 18 years ends up like Johnny Somali. Fucking rough. Oh, another thing worth mentioning. He is always the one to instigate it. He's usually the ones to make the threats. And then he starts actually crying when they beat his ass for it. There it is. Oh, yeah. I see how you censored it. So you can see the start. He came at him with, like, the fucking flying front kick. And then Johnny's, like, running away. It's so good. Then they chase him down. Up 2, but he's most likely going to get 1 to 5. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm a little too optimistic, but I really think there's a chance Korea just does not play games with this. The charges are bad already, but even aside from that, he is just so openly disrespectful, not only to the public, but to the court system as well. He showed up over an hour late, hungover. He kept putting on his hat when he was told repeatedly not to. Like, I feel like they're not gonna go easy on him. It's, again, maybe I'm just, huffing the hopium, but I just have a feeling. That would be the best thing they could do, because that would finally maybe start to be a deterrent to these IRL nuisance streamers. January 3rd is a date that had more importance to me than my own birthday, because that was the day Logan Paul said he was going to respond to CoffeeZilla's investigative series on his CryptoZoo project. Throughout a year-long investigation conducted by CoffeeZilla, he produced 3 videos that highlighted that CryptoZoo was a scam, and told the story of tons of victims who lost money and went over how it got to that point and what went on behind the scenes. Logan Paul stated that he would be responding to all the allegations on January 3rd, and he did, in a remarkably baffling way. So January 3rd rolled around, it was this very sad wet fart of a response from Logan Paul. He released a 7-minute video where he addressed none of the actual claims that had evidence backing them and avoided all of the actual hard-hitting facts that CoffeeZilla was providing without giving his side of anything. Instead, he just started attacking the character of CoffeeZilla and throwing out nothing to back up his claims in his own video, which makes him very hypocritical in that sense, such as him stating at the very beginning that CoffeeZilla's been getting information wrong because he's turned into a gossip channel without ever showing any of the things he's gotten wrong recently, and then saying that he tried to work in law enforcement but was turned away for being not truthful and his work often being speculative, of which he provides no sources to where he got that, so I imagine he reached into his colon and pulled it out like a little dingleberry. So, his video wasn't the best when it came to proving his innocence. So he then released a podcast episode yesterday going over it deeper. However, it's not deep at all. This shit is shallower than a micro penis. It doesn't go anywhere. It's still the very surface level shit where he doesn't actually talk about any of the evidence-backed claims that CoffeeZilla makes against him, his team, and his project. It's an hour and 20 minutes of them trying to play the victim here, and it's so shameless at one point that he even begins reading a letter that he supposedly received from a fan that made him tear up, talking about how great of a person Logan is and how he has such a kind heart, and then Logan tears up on the podcast again. None of this has anything to do with the CoffeeZilla investigation or CryptoZoo, so it just seems like he's farming sympathy points for some reason. It's just not good at all. This is actually significantly worse than a 7-minute response video. Now, he does reinforce that he will be suing CoffeeZilla for defamation for his investigative series on CryptoZoo, which leads me to believe that Logan Paul is truly surrounded by absolute fucking troglodytes. There is nobody in Logan Paul's immediate circle that gives him good advice. A defamation case is extremely hard to win in even the best of circumstances. But you have a shady crypto company that a ton of people lost a ton of money on, and you're suing a guy who investigated for a year and provided nothing but an unbiased, objective look at the facts. No matter how you want to spin it, it is objective as it gets. Logan Paul seems to believe that CoffeeZilla highlighted him as a malicious evil supervillain, which are his words, not mine. But in the actual investigation videos, you can see CoffeeZilla multiple times mentions that he can't pin the blame on any one person, and in fact focuses more highly on the other two people, Jake the Crypto King and Eddie Ibanez, than Logan Paul. So to win a defamation case, you not only have to prove that the information is incorrect, you have to prove that it was knowingly incorrect by the person who put it out there publicly. You have to prove there was malicious intent. You would have to somehow prove that CoffeeZilla knew all of this information was wrong and published it anyway for the sole purpose of hurting your image. And that's a very difficult thing to prove because you can make tons of arguments that CoffeeZilla, even if things are wrong, which so far Logan Paul's proven nothing wrong, aside from one of the victims in the testimonials being shady, aside from that he's proven nothing, he would then have such a solid defense regardless because he investigated and just provided like facts of information he gathered from Logan Paul's own team. And so he would have a very strong case of, this isn't defamation, I was doing a public service by bringing all of this information to light. It's an unwinnable case for defamation, and I have to imagine Logan Paul knows that and just wants to bully CoffeeZilla legally and cost him a lot of money to hurt him, which is fucked up. That is malicious and supervillain like Logan. Of course, I'm no lawyer, but I am at least somewhat familiar with how defamation cases usually go because when someone's feelings get hurt, they always try and sue for defamation for some reason. It's pretty cringe. Now, another thing that I want to mention before showing the podcast moments is Logan Paul is so delusional that he actually is using the defense of him hiring criminals to make him innocent. So in his response video, he's like, you talked to my developer that stole the code for $1 million. Did you know that that developer is actually a convicted criminal? And it showcases his criminal history. As if that makes Logan Paul look better or innocent. Logan, you hired 3 criminals to run this with you. That makes you look much, much worse and much more guilty. Oh, no, guys. Let's not I hired 3 criminals. I brought together the Suicide Squad here to run this crypto company. It's them that were bad. It's not my fault. Why are you getting mad at me? I just hired the criminals. Obviously, you're responsible for the team you put together. You are liable for 2 of them stealing $7.7 million from the project here. That is your fault. I don't know why you keep falling back on, no, it's just that those criminals that did it, not me. Like, it's such a fucking stupid defense. I already did kind of the spoilers that he really just repeats what he said in his video, which is nothing. Even in this hour and 20 long podcast, he doesn't actually debunk any of CoffeeZilla's claims.
Always trying to get attention, and now he doesn't give a fuck about us, so he's not going to speak out about it until this other dude's going to speak out, and now this is going to talk now. Great question.
What was the question? He was just like spitting a fact. Now I know these are just like his lackeys, and his point is like this is all wrong, but it wasn't even a question. He's just like he's just like right. Like, the only thing he failed to mention there is that it was a scam. But everything else, yeah, I mean, right. It's not like you were going to talk about Crypto Zoo the next day or something. If CoffeeZilla never made the video telling the victim's story, this would have stayed just buried, fading into obscurity.
Here's some receipts. Again, just some bits. His name's Steven. The first time he reached out to me was on Christmas Eve after he released the series.
Logan, big guy. Coffee already posted the receipts. He reached out to you directly on Instagram, which was your only means of communication, by the way, since you blocked him over a year ago. When that was a dead end, he reached out to your manager multiple times asking to talk directly to you. Jeff left him on red. It wasn't until every other avenue was burned that he called your manager, Jeff. Those receipts were already posted. But you are right, he did reach out again on December 24th to your email, again, after exhausting everything else, again, because you haven't...
Not interested in feeding into that anymore, so we'll be answering the question, or hopefully, if you would have asked, you're going to ask me today on this podcast.
Like, that's not a strong point that you, for some reason, harp on so heavily. It's just dual... CoffeeZilla doesn't even do those interview video calls on his main channel. He does it on a secondary. So it wouldn't even be looking views or anything out of it. It's literally just getting truth.
Steven, just wanted to put my allegations on your... Dangerously falsehoods and wrongfully accused me of scamming my fans. and repulsive, again, in my case. It can even be one.
Hardly substantiated your evidence. I'm gonna give him leeway on the breaking law. Even I didn't realize Texas was a one-party consent law when it came to recording conversations on the phone. So he didn't break laws. So that's blatantly wrong, but I'm gonna give him leeway because I also didn't realize that that was legal in Texas. But this, fucking yikes. And fabricated, dangerously misleading falsehoods. What, talking to your team of criminals? Like direct?
If someone scams a person or an organization, they deceive them in order to get something valuable from them, especially money. That is the definition of scam. So, my first question, this question was answered in his series. It was a 5-second blip that was a part of a probably hour-long documentary, filmmaking. Was how much money did you make off of the sale of the car?
Oh no. This is so much worse than I would have expected. Just because Logan didn't make the money doesn't mean it wasn't a scam. You know who did make money in 7.7 million's worth? 2 of the other criminals he hired to run it with him, Mike. Yes, it is a scam, even though Logan didn't make the money off of it.